What's up, everybody? I'm James. I'm a sailor and a videographer, and I deliver boats every once in a while just for extra cash to fund the lifestyle. And the other day, I got a call from my buddy and got a very interesting offer. So he calls me and he says, "Mate, I've got this boat in the States. I need it in the UK. You're the man to take it there." To which I reply, "Okay, brother, that's usually a $20,000 job, but since you're my buddy, I'll give you a good price, no worries." And he says to me, "Mate, I've got a better idea. I'm not going to pay you anything. You take my boat wherever you want, as long as you want. Have an adventure. Drop it off in Ibiza when you're done. Or fly down, we'll hang out for the weekend, or fly you home. I'll pay for everything. Maintenance, fuel, you've got it. Just get the boat there." So I thought about it for all of 10 seconds, because 10 seconds is all you really need to decide whether or not to take your buddy's $1 million boat across the Atlantic. Yes. So you may remember from my last video, I took my Oyster to Cartagena, Colombia to put it up on the hard so she could get some major work done. Then I flew to Annapolis to see this 60-foot beast. On a side note, my beautiful first mate doesn't have a B1, B2 visa for the States, so she'll be flying into the Azores in a few weeks. I completely understand if you violently turned off this video. Just know it's not my fault. Now we're going to take a little tour of the boat given by the owners and narrated by yours truly. I actually tried to find a real review on this boat just so I can get some ideas, and I can't find anything. It's all just really salesy type pitches. I guess nobody wants to stir the water with Bavaria. Or maybe it's just that all new boats look pretty. But I'm going to tell you my opinion and what I feel is the truth about how this boat is built, how it will perform, and how it's laid out. And hint, for its specific audience, it's great. All right, we're gonna start this tour in the front of the boat. The owner's cabin is in the front, or what normally is called the V berth. But on a boat this big, it's not really even a V. It's a walk-around, humongous bed. This is a very, very comfortable owner's cabin. I see why they put it in the front. It has a split toilet and shower. It's just one of the nicer owner's cabins I've ever seen on a boat. Though it is located in the front where if you're out to sea, it's the most motion on the entire boat. So it's not the most comfortable sleeping situation if you're on passage. Usually what people will do is if they're on passage, they'll just sleep in the salon, fold the table down, and be good to go. Sliding back into the galley, it's actually really well laid out too. I really like this galley. I wish it had a little bigger fridge, but those can be added. A lot of people add fridges in their boats. You just buy one of those Engel fridges and throw it in one of the guest cabins or where the ottoman is, put a cushion on top of it, and there you go. You got extra fridge space. Being that this boat is 60 feet long and 17 feet wide, there are tons of places to stow stuff. I mean, there's stowage in this boat. And even the rear facades of these cabinets are not the hull of the boat. There's even more room back behind it for whatever you want to put back there. And the piece de résistance, it's got a dishwasher. One of the things I love on boats is when the salon table folds down into a big bed for a bunch of people where they can chill. On passage, it's usually the best bed on that tack on the boat. And this one's set up really nicely. It's even got that super yacht feel with the TV that comes out with the push of a button from behind the couch. It's pretty nice. Everybody digs that. The whole boat is controlled by a B&G Naviop system, which I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. It makes everything really easy. It makes, like, the user interface for this boat is insane. You can get to anything from this screen and see what it's doing and see where the faults are, and it'll basically just, it's one step away from the USS Enterprise where the ship will actually talk to you. But it's got a couple of things that I don't like, one of which is the button of death. This is a kill switch for everything on the boat, and there's no warning or anything. You just hit it accidentally and it kills everything. It kills the autopilot, kills everything. This isn't Bavaria's fault. This is B&G's fault. B&G, come on, man. Up your game a little bit. Give me a warning. The engine room is great, although I have seen bigger on 60-foot boats. I like the way it's set up. The engine, of course, is new and nice and pretty. They've put triple redundancy on the fuel filters, and you can get all kinds of options in there. You can get a water maker, you can get a generator, whatever you want. The two rear cabins are set up mirror image of each other, and they are very big, very comfortable. The motion back there is better than the front, but the ventilation back there is lacking a little bit because there's no windows in the rear part. There's a window up top right when you walk in the door, and then one on the side underneath your feet while you're sitting in the cockpit. So there's a little bit of ventilation, but it does get warm back there, especially if you're motoring. But who cares? That's for the guests. The real coup de grace of this boat is the cockpit. The cockpit is insane. You can fit 20 people for a dinner party in this thing, and it's super comfortable. If you're in an anchorage, this is the party boat. Both of those tables lower down and form beds up here, so no matter which tack you're on, you can be comfortable. Awesome idea. I wish I had this cockpit on my boat. And the best part, I'll let James explain.
I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the best feature on the boat. Imagine the scene, we're sailing along, it's a hot day, not unlike today. You're thirsty, all you have to do is reach down and grab out a nice cool beer. How good's that?
Okay, I don't do this very often, but I'm just gonna sit here and tell you guys what I really think about these boats. There'll be no B-roll, there'll be no visual aids. I'm just gonna sit here and talk to you. This isn't meant to be bad or good. This isn't meant to be a bash on any company. This is just the reality check so you guys understand what you're dealing with when you go and buy a boat. So if you were to build, let's say 1,000 40-foot boats over the next 5 years, and you put $1,000 Force 10 stove in every single one of them, that's the best you can buy. I mean, the best stove money can buy. It's going to cost you $1 million in stoves just for that line of boats, just for that model. If you were to buy the second best stove they make in the world, and it cost $800, that's a savings of $200,000 over the life of that boat. If you were to buy the cheapest one, let's say it cost $400,000, that's over $500,000 that you just saved by just putting a different stove in the boat. This is the mentality that you have to know that the fabrication company has when they're making the boat. This particular boat, they changed the way they build it now, so they vacuum bagged the whole boat. It has bow and stern thrusters, so it's really, really easy to drive, even for somebody that hasn't had a boat before, brand new boat owner. It can be handled by a couple, which is saying a lot for a 60-foot boat. It's got a tall rig, it sails like a dream, it's got split rudders. I love split rudders. Everything else about this boat is great. If that's what you want, and you want the apartment feel when you go into a boat, that's the demographic that this boat is after, and it works great. And there's nowhere else that you can get all of that with the accoutrement for $600,000 base price. If you were to buy a 60-foot Oyster that uses all of the top quality stuff, you'd be out $5 million. So this is the balance and the scale that you need to know going into a boat purchase like this. Is it a good boat? Yes. Will it make a circumnavigation? Hell yeah. Will you have more stuff break? Yes. And buying a new boat doesn't mean that you're buying a boat with no problems. Just remember that. If it were me, personally, and this is unsolicited advice, I would take that $1 million that you would spend on a brand new production boat, and I'd buy a 10-year-old boat from a different manufacturer that chooses to build their boats with the top quality equipment and joinery, just so it's a little bit less headache with all of those things going bad after a number of years. Find something that somebody took care of. All right, cool. So that's my honest opinion about the boat. Now we're going to get into the refit of this boat. When I got to the boat, it was a little bit neglected, let's say. It had sat for 6 months through the snow and through the winter. So some salt water had gotten into the Autopilot planetary gear, and we needed to change that. We needed to change the bimini, fix the Dodger, change a couple bilge pumps. There was a lot of maintenance that needed to happen before we could take this boat safely across the Atlantic. So let's go. What is up, my beautiful people? Guess who I'm with? Mr. James!
How's it going?
Him and his beautiful wife, Philippa. Unfortunately, Philippa's not here, so you guys don't get any eye candy. Well,
no eye candy.
So we are, you can see the boat's trashed. We're replacing the Autopilot. This is the planetary gear for the Autopilot. It's huge and it's heavy, and it was a real bitch. So the reason it's got tape all over it is we sealed up all of the access ports that I think from the old Autopilot made it go bad, like water ingressed in it, because these planetary gears should last forever, like 30 years. So it sucks that you had to replace that, bud.
Yeah, I mean, it sits about 3 inches above the bilge. So even though there's a bilge pump next to it, water still sloshes around when you're sailing, when you're on the heel. And definitely there are places that water could get into that. But yeah, I mean, it lasted, what, 3.5 years, which is pretty rubbish, really. And the worst news is that it was $4,800 to replace it. So big money, but it had to be done. We can't have it breaking halfway across the Atlantic.
So let's go down here and I'll show you guys what's going on. We're just about ready to put this back in here. This is the part of the boat that keeps us from sinking. So I better do a good job on this. Actually, Bill, you better do a good job on this, or else the boat will sink. Just so you guys know, here's the dinghy garage. This lifts up and goes down, and this is the back of the boat. This goes down, and the dinghy, that dinghy, fits in here. And because of that, you have to put all of the steering gear underneath this part. So in this space in between, this is the hull of the boat right here. Bam, 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 bam. That's the bottom. Outside of that is water. This is called the quadrant. This is what steers the two. This one has split rudders, so there's actually 3 quadrants. This is the Autopilot quadrant and the gearing quadrant, because this is what links both of the wheels together. And then there's another quadrant over there, and there's another quadrant over there for the actual rudders. So this is the Autopilot. This is called a planetary gear. It's called that because it has one center gear with a bunch of little gears around it. In this case, it has one center gear with just one smaller gear. This is the drive motor for the planetary gear. So this is all the Autopilot right here. And this is new, brand new. I know it doesn't look like it, but it is. This is brand new as well. So the reason it looks a little messed up is we sealed it here with Sikaflex, and we sealed it here. There was a bunch of ports on this thing that allowed water to get in. And you can see right here, this is water, right here. That's the bilge. It's basically like an inch above the bilge. I think that design is horrible. Horrible. Like, one of the worst designs I could even think of. Horrible. What I would do is probably mount it upside down and mount this linkage bar like this, and then have it up above the bilge a little bit, but whatever, that's how it's mounted. So that makes it easy, I guess, but it's right in the bilge. I mean, it's not even 2 inches above it, which is crazy. There's a bilge pump that's new. This hose is new. I installed all that, installed all the linkage, put all the steering gear back on, and we're ready to glue this thing down. So we're just prepping the sides, and then once this is all prepped and all ready to go, we'll hit it with some acetone and get it ready for the glue. And then we'll just throw a bead of glue around it, put it in here. All 3 of us will do that, and then we'll try to clean it up a little bit, and yeah, we're gonna film that part for sure. And then I'll show you what else we did on the boat. All right, so if you guys ever have a boat and you want to adjust the steering, most boats are set up like this, where you have a quadrant and then the steering cable goes around the quadrant and then it goes dead ends at the quadrant. So that's how you adjust the tension of the steering wheel. So what you want to do is get it kind of close and then go up and feel the steering wheel. So it's pretty close now. Pretend like this is good, right? And then we're gonna go up. We're gonna try the steering wheel and see how much play it has. It has a lot of play right now. This is kind of like how much play. Let's see how much play is on this side. Not as much. Yeah, a little bit, but not as much. So we want to get it a little tighter. This just feels a little bit loose. Yeah, you can feel it. And you can see it down here too. So we're gonna push this one this way and push this one this way. And we're gonna tighten those two up onto each other hard so it doesn't come off. Okay, now that is done, and it won't slip off. You can't just have one, because if you just have one, then there's nothing to tighten it onto each other. Even with a lock nut here, even if it's tight as shit, it's never gonna tighten. It's just gonna loosen and pull out. And I've had it happen before, and you'll lose your steering. And a lot of boats don't have that redundancy, so you need two. You can make sure there's two on each side. This is the other side for the end of the cables. Okay, cool. Can you please turn the wheel all the way to the right? Turn it to the left. The reason that this cable split before is because the wheel wasn't turning here. Turn it the other way. So this is turning now, but it wasn't turning before. See how both of these are turning now? You want them both turning. So the only thing I did was I loosened up the nylock nut a little bit. If you go too tight on this thing. Okay, do it again. See, now it's not turning, and now it's going to cause too much friction. So that's where we want it. Right there, so it turns. Okay, do it again the other way. Nice and easy. Nice and lubricated. Yeah. Okay, fixed.
Yeah.
I'm going to explain how the rudder system works on this boat. So this is the quadrant. This is the only quadrant on the boat. It's connected through mechanical linkage right here to each rudder. So that link goes to a little quadrant on the rudder. You see that where it goes? You can kind of see there. That's on the rudder right there. That is the shaft. There's the shaft right there for the rudder. So on this side is there, and then on this side is exactly mirror opposite, and it goes to the rudder shaft over there. You can see it back there. And then there's got two cables. This cable comes in, goes around, links up here, and the other side links here. So it's going from here all the way around the quadrant to the linkage to the chain, and then coming back and burying itself here, and the other side's here and here. So that's how you adjust the tension on those. And if you lose I'm sorry, I'm not done yet. So, and then this is the autopilot. The autopilot is also controlled through linkage to here, which pushes and pulls on the quadrant itself. So the autopilot is directly moving the quadrant, which is directly moving the linkage here, and it goes to the rudders. The cables for the steering are moving this quadrant, and they connect to the linkage too. So basically you have four ways to drive the boat. You have one wheel. If that thing snaps, you got another other wheel. If that thing snaps, you got the autopilot. And if that thing breaks, you have an emergency tiller on each side that goes right into the rudder post that you can control each rudder independently. Okay? And that would be difficult. We don't want that. So we've greased everything. Everything looks right. We've tested it. It's good to go. And we're going to put the cover back on, glue it back on, and then we can take the boat out for a test sail tomorrow. Okay? Yeah? You happy?
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Yeah, spot on.
All right, cool. Let's get this thing on. I'm trying to change the engine oil. So I ran, here's the engine. I ran the engine today. And this engine is called a Yanmar 4JH110. Do you ever go by Zachary?
My mom.
Only when you're in trouble, huh? So Zach found the access port. I thought James was talking about an access port on the engine. He was talking about this thing.
You want me to pull it?
Yeah, pull it out and see how it looks. Let's check level. It's very low.
Yeah. It's supposed to be up to that dot, right? Or
and it's fairly black.
Yeah.
It's not horrible, but I've seen way worse.
Yeah.
These things are really cool. This pump makes vacuum, and as long as this thing is shut off in the oil, it will start sucking vacuum, and it'll pull like a couple of atmospheres of vacuum. You can release the vacuum with this little pin, and basically what we do is we just put this down into the dipstick. We take the dipstick out, put it all the way down into the dipstick, into the bottom of the oil pan, and then pump this like 20 times, and then just go away and come back in 10 minutes.
I've never seen that. This is exciting.
Yeah, and this is a good one. You got to watch out for some of them, because if the seal's not good, when it gets full, it'll just like pop off, and then oil will go everywhere. So it's a good idea to put like this inside a plastic bag just in case it overflows a little bit, but it takes a long time because it's oil.
That's okay.
It's not like water. Keep your body thumping while the music's pumping. Oh, look, you can see it going. So I think you just like give it about that many pumps. How many pumps have you done?
20. That was 20.
Yeah, no more.
Okay.
Just leave it. It should pull it off vacuum where, you know, we come back in 20 minutes and it's done. Find leaks fast. Water alarm. I know you guys are gonna laugh at me, but I'm gonna use these now. And I think that's gonna wake us up. Are you feeling safer?
Much safer.
We've got 3 of these, one in the middle, one in the engine room, and one in the forward part of the boat. So we're gonna get the EPIRB, it's right here. It's here because theoretically you want to be able to, what is it, such a bitch? You want to be able to grab it on your way out the door if your boat's sinking, you know, like that's the one thing you really, really need. And the ditch bag. So to test this one, we push the test button for 1 second. It says on and off and test. Press for 1 second. So either one, it says to test for 1 second. I'm guessing. So 1001, and then this should blink. Bam, done. That means we have batteries and it's able to transmit. Okay, so this is good. Yay, we have a life-saving device. And EPIRB stands for Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. It transmits it on high frequency. It goes way far, and it will say, help, I'm in trouble, for a couple days. And it floats, and it will transmit while it floats, and basically it's like the lifesaver. And it'll transmit our MMSI, which is the boat data, to, I mean, there's a whole thing you have to do for this. But basically it'll alert all the authorities that you have a problem. And if you have this, and you have the Iridium Go, which is this is also an SOS. So if this goes off and transmits my data, and this goes off and transmits my data, they know we have a problem. We need to help them. So I usually carry 2. Anyway, this is good.